Hi, Craig. Welcome back to the Free Speech Cage.
Hello, Max. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me here.
So, I think today we're going to just continue our conversation about the rule of law.
Yes, if there is such a thing as the rule of law, and as you know, I was a Marine for many years. And I never heard a shot fired in anger, but I've talked to an awful lot of people who have, and I was trained for many years to respond, plan, whatever, in a combat situation. And the idea that there are laws that will constrain you when someone is trying to kill you just sort of goes against what we feel as human beings. It's sort of the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid line. You're bringing a knife to a gunfight. So in circumstances that are extreme, you make decisions that might be scary to think of in normal society. But that's not what we're seeing here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's the same for you. Both the killing of the people in the boats and the woman in D.C., to me, are definitely connected.
They're absolutely connected. And by the way, the killing of the people in the boats, we're talking about killing people in water, right? We're talking about what Germans did in World War II when they sunk a freighter in the middle of the ocean and machine gunned the survivors. I mean, we're talking about stuff that Americans have found horrific forever. And apparently has got the saying, go do that? It's absurd. And then when you bring in poor Sergeant Sarah Beckworth, I believe, from D.C., as you pointed out last time, she's not trained for a long-term law enforcement job. She doesn't have that situational awareness that comes with months of police training and months of being in an area where you know the landmarks and you know the people and you know your coworkers. She just got there. She was 20 years old, and the National Guard shouldn't have been there. A judge ruled that that deployment was improper. They were just, I think, there for another 10 days pending the appeal, something like that. But at that particular moment in time, a judge had ruled that the National Guard deployment should not be in D.C. So, you've got Trump literally and his regime killing people and getting people killed. For what? And I think, honestly, it's because they enjoy the chaos. Trump thrives in chaos. And at this point, his regime is falling apart on so many fronts, he doesn't know what else to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the similarity is that, whether you're a Colombian fisherman, whether you're in New York City, I mean, these people are setting up the conditions where, we get killed. And I think that Americans need to realize that this has always happened around the world, but now, I mean, it's happening here. I mean, and there's no accountability, no way to change it. We're just sitting ducks.
So when you say it's always happened, I don't want to pretend that America has not done things like this before. Certainly, at Kent State, the National Guard soldiers killed a number of students, right? And there were the veterans who were killed in the march on D.C., the bonus marchers on D.C. As we've said before, both Johnson and Nixon expanded wars in Southeast Asia during the Vietnam conflict. We've done a lot of bad stuff, but maybe there was some idea that it wasn't planned. The National Guard shooting the protesters, that was just a panicked reaction, precisely as you stated before. They weren't really trained for this sort of stuff. We're going out and we're assassinating people we claim without presenting any evidence are narco terrorists. It's just, and then we're pardoning people who are completely narco terrorists, who are bringing gazillions of drugs into the U.S. So to be so publicly shameless about what we're doing and how awful that feels, you can't even pretend that we're not doing it. And Americans need to understand we are doing it, and we as a nation, as individuals, are responsible, and we have to, do something. What that something is, I don't know. We'll see how Tennessee 7 turns out today. But certainly there's a lot more on the plate than just Trump and more Trump and still more Trump after that.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, and I, I just keep going back to this, I felt that when we allowed our bombs to be used in Gaza to be dropped on homes of people, so, Israel's like, oh, well, these people have to, they're with Hamas, but there's a wall around them. They can't go to Israel and say, yeah, I got my neighbors, Hamas, go get them. Where are they going to go? They have to go back home. So if Hamas knows, if they get them, so they're trapped. And so you blow up their home because they're under a tunnel. And I'm not like trying to make an argument one way or another. I'm just saying I think it used to be accepted that you do not blow up a person's home just because their neighbor did something bad. And so when we did that, I guess what I'm saying is it was happening long before Trump, where there isn't this social acceptance that non-combatants should not get killed. And when they do get killed, there should be investigations. It's a bad thing. But now we don't have anything. I mean, from Charlie Kirk to the woman in D.C. to the guys in the boat, there's no investigations going on. There's no social effort that there was, I believe, because I agree with you. I think, 20 years ago, it was a lot different.
20 years ago, it wasn't as visible. 20 years ago, when a sitting representative from Minnesota, were that to have happened 20 years ago, gets assassinated at her home, we wouldn't just stop talking about it a day later.
Right.
We would try and figure out what's this mean. And we're seeing that with Mark Kelly, by the way. Of course, his wife was shot, a number of people killed in the shooting at an affair many years ago in, I believe, Arizona. And he has taken the role of being a public spokesman for accountability from the president. And the president then says, hey, this is sedition. Go ahead, Trump. Go ahead, Hesketh. Bring this guy back to service. Put his uniform on. Hesketh is flouting some BS about having a uniform inspection be the first thing that happens to Mark Kelly because he didn't like the way Kelly was displaying his ribbons. That's coming from a guy who is ordering military strikes via an unsecured signal channel. I mean, the hypocrisy and just blatant disregard for norms that Trump and company are displaying is shocking. And I look at people like Mark Kelly, and I sent them a check. I look at people like Crockett down in Texas, sent her a check. I look at these people who are speaking up, and now I'm seeing a flood of people saying, oh, they were right all the time. And you were right. You were right about Palestine, right? You were right about the bombs. It's gone too far, way too far. And I think most people have come over to your side, including me, and those norms have to be challenged and changed.
Yeah, I think there's definitely, I am a little bit hopeful that, well, we're all hopeful that it's somewhat turning the corner, but I don't know yet. But I think we're out of time, so...
Max Barreau is out of time, but I'll end on this note, which is something you said to me earlier. Trump is a walking corpse. And I think what we're seeing now is people realizing that, and as he just gets more bizarre and his administration becomes more openly violent and disrespectful of what America stands for, you'll see a lot more people standing up behind Crockett and Mark Kelly and similar minds. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, and I hope you're right. I'll see you next time.
Sounds good.